Hello there, Spencer from B&P Conversions. So I just thought I'd make a video in regards to the E30 M3 rear window frame, which I make in carbon fibre. Now, I used to make that item in fiberglass. I have made many videos about this item and the reason why I stopped making the item in fiberglass. The main reason is that 1mm of carbon fibre is actually 4 layers of carbon fibre cloth material with its resin infused. So 1mm of fiberglass is 1 layer of fiberglass mat, which is very, very brittle, and you actually have to shave that down in areas which goes below the 1 layer of fiberglass mat, which ends up breaking the flange areas off. So it's a waste of time even trying to buy or fit this part in fiberglass. There's 2 options which I do. So the first option is the Resin Infusion rear window frame. So the Resin Infusion rear window frame allows you to have the rear window frame in a side view carbon effect. I'll just walk around that for you so you can see. So you can see that the actual finish of the carbon fibre, the surface finish of that item as well. So you can see the reflection in the actual resin. So because it's resin infusion, there isn't going to be any voids, any air pockets. This item is made so the actual outer skin, this piece here, is actually made in resin infusion, which is the cloth is laid into the mould itself. That's laid into dry, cut to shape, built up through the layers. They then pull a vacuum on it with the release ply in and the mesh that allows the resin to travel. They pull a vacuum on it. If the vacuum holds, they then infuse the resin throughout the item, pulling the air out and pulling the resin through. That allows for a surface finish which is nigh on perfect. So this item, like I say, is a resin infused item. The outer skin is the resin infused part. The internal structures, which are that part there, this part down there, and all the internal structures, I'll just lift it up so you can see. You can see internal structures. So those internal structures all the way around. The parts that go from the original window frame of the E30 all the way to the new window frame of the E30 M3. All them internal structures are actually still laid up by wet lay, or made by wet lay. And the reason that is because they're so intricate and so small and delicate and awkward that it would be very difficult to make them through resin infusion. So to be quite honest, you're not going to see those parts. They're going to be covered up with the internal either parcel shelf cover, the C-pillar covers, so you're not going to see that. So you can expect some air voids in the wet lay parts. You can expect some thicker areas of the resin where it's built up, and so that's mainly the wet lay procedure. But you can see that obviously on the outer skin of the C-pillar, which is made, this window frame, the infusion window frame, site view infusion window frame, is made with 1 continuous piece of carbon. So there's no cuts or joins in this piece of carbon fibre, and that basically just gives a perfect surface finish. So if you're going to have a carbon fibre boot lid on here as well, that item will look stunning against a highly lacquered or painted polished boot lid. Now that is option number 1. So option number 1 is a resin infused window frame with internal structures, and the window frame kit comes as this item with the internal structures and the internal part inside the boot lid. I've made many videos explaining how to fit this. That comes as a kit for £1,600, so £1,600. The second option, which is option number 2, is a wet laid, gel coated carbon fibre window frame. So this is still made from full carbon fibre. There's no difference between the carbon fibre which is laid in that item to the carbon fibre which is laid in this item. The only difference is that on the very surface, instead of having clear resin come to the very front of it, it's got a blue gel coat. Now the blue gel coat, that is in place because these items can be laid up a lot faster. They are not made with one continuous piece of carbon. There is many joins in this item. There's no structural loss, no strength lost. It is just a case of, if we were to leave it clear and not put the gel coat on there, the item wouldn't look very nice. So we fit a blue gel coat to the inside of the mould first. Once that's fitted inside the mould, they then start to wet lay the carbon fibre matting. So they put a piece of material in, they wet that up with paintbrush, resin. Once that's wet up with a paintbrush and resin, they build the layers up until they've got the required layers they want, and then let that cure. Then the internal structures are built exactly the same through wet lay. Those internal structures again are blue gel coated, so that all the item basically, once it's made, is a blue gel coat. Now the reason I do this option 2 is because everyone, well 99% of people, want to paint the item, and if they're going to paint the item, that's pointless having a side view carbon effect when you're going to put paint on it. So I do the second option, and obviously lower the price of the second option. The second option is £1,100, and obviously that's a £500 saving between the two items. The main reason is because it's more difficult to lay that one up. Alright, so they are both equally as strong as each other, they both fit as well as each other, but the blue item is made for a different market, for the people who are painting the car. So to give you an internal view of this item, what they do is they lay the blue gel coat up. I'm just going to turn the item round. So they lay the blue gel coat up. Once the blue gel coat is laid, they build the carbon layers up, and once the actual layers are built up to their required depth in the outer skin part, they then vac bag the entire mould. That then pulls the carbon and the material into the front face of the mould itself. So it's wet laid but still vac bagged. Okay, so obviously this item is not wet laid, it's resin infused on the outer skin. The internal structures are still wet laid, but that item is just pure wet lay. So that's the price difference, and that is the difference between the two items. Alright, so I just thought I'd make the video. There is a third option to go with this window frame, which I haven't mentioned in the video, and I'm about to. I did forget actually just then. These two little items here, which is either side. Now, if you look at this item, you can understand what it is. This is basically a mould that has been taken from the very top of the rear quarter panel. So the rear quarter panel of the E30 M3 is completely different to the rear quarter panel of the original standard E30. And when you're fitting these window frames, if you've fitted or bought a car which has a fiberglass M3 wide body kit on it already, and you want to actually fit a window frame because it hasn't got the window frame fitted, you need this item to be able to fit the window frame to the car. So that window frame, like I say, is a roof extension. That roof extension actually sits in this area along there, right? So this is a new gutter. That line is basically a brand new gutter, and the roof extension glues along this joint. If I show you where the joint is, 1 second, I've got to turn this blue one back over. So the blue one has the joints, it needs trimming still. So on the blue one, as you look at this rear quarter top, you'll see that angle joint through there, that angle joint through there lines up with that angle joint through here. So this is actually a part of the top of the rear quarter still attached to the window frame when we mould it. That needs to be trimmed off, and this item needs to be fitted in place. So I'll take you to the car I'm building inside, and you can see exactly the part I'm talking about. So the rear quarter top, you can see the top of the rear quarter, which is the new gutter. So the difference between the gutters is that this is the M3 gutter, and then this is the standard original gutter. And you can see how far we are away from lining those two up. So the new window frame will drain its water down off the rear screen into the gutter at the back, but then if these rear quarter tops aren't in place, the water will just fall straight into the boot. So you can see how far the gutter is out from lining up. Standard gutter, M3 gutter. So this basically gives you the M3 top of the rear quarter panel that you can bond on and then fit the rear window frame, and your water won't drain into the boot. So I'm just going to offer this rear window frame, the blue one, onto this E30, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So in another one of my videos I explained this in depth on how to fit this item. So I'm just going to lay this item onto the car. As you can see, once it's laid onto the car, we'll just step back. Right, so you can see now in depth how the new gutter comes further out, the rear window drains into it. If the gutter isn't in line, or you haven't got this part which curves up into there, the water's just going to drop straight into your boot. You can see where I've got to trim, so you can see the actual angle shape through there on the rear quarter, and the angle shape through the top of the window frame. You trim that off through that line, you apply glue on the top there and there, and then glue the item straight down. There we go. So that's an in-depth video in regards to the rear quarters, the rear quarter tops, the window frames in site view carbon, and the window frame in gel coat. Okay, so I hope that you find it interesting. If you want to order anything, please feel free. I do carbon fibre inner wheel arches for the M3. I've done in-depth videos on how to fit those. I do carbon fibre rear quarter panels, back panels, front wings, carbon fibre boot lids, bumpers, side skirts, everything for the E30 M3. Thank you. Thanks from Spencer at B&P Conversions.